Everyone, before we get into today's video, I just want to give a shout out to our Shogun tier members, Daniel Schaefer. Thank you very much for the support. Now, let's get into today's video. Hello everyone, Ronan here, and welcome back to a very special episode. This is the culmination of the first What If I ever did on the channel. It's been 2 years in the making, and this one is very sentimental to me. But before we get into that, I'm going to need you to take a look at this analytical stat bar right here. You guys already know the deal. If you're not subscribed, then go ahead and do that. Turn on notifications so you'll never miss another upload. With all of that being said, we still got a lot to cover in this finale of the first What If I have ever done. So let's get into What If Ash was born in Unova, the series finale. I hope you enjoy. End of the beginning. We find ourselves deep in the central forest of Unova. Someone running, dodging, evading people in pursuit of him. This is N. He's heading to a place only he should know of. A place on the border of dreams and reality. Unfortunately, the unexpected guest he has, Neoteam Plasma, is a cause for great concern. Not because of the Pokemon that are here who are never exposed to humans, but because what is hidden here. Powers that man should not have. Secrets that were never meant to be revealed. This was the perfect hiding place, but how? And thinks to himself as he runs frantically to his destination. Hot on his tail, we see many Neoteam Plasma grunts, gaining ground to their target. Fortunately for N, the deeper he moves in the forest of mist, the less present he sees of Neoteam Plasma, until N finds himself in a familiar area. Flashing back to the days after the fall of Team Plasma and his exile to live in the world of the humans, N found himself in this place. In front of him, an ancient stone with runes etched on the face of it. This language isn't one that he is familiar with, even though his childhood was spent with many hours studying the forgotten history of Unova. However, as he struggles to translate the text, it seems to shift to a language he is familiar with. For a brief moment, N thinks his eyes are playing tricks on him, as he can see the words Dream World clear as day. N can't explain it, but this place seems calm, familiar, at peace. Whatever it is, N decides to explore. After what seems to be days, N finds himself on the shores of a mighty lake. In the center is a small island that seems to be calling to the lost soul. Knowing that's where he needs to be, he searches for a way to cross, eventually coming across a boat that allows him to do so. What Ed finds is something unexpected. A small rundown house, appearing abandoned for many years. Something built by man in a place like this is highly irregular, he feels. But it doesn't seem to be a place of malice, more like a place of echoed memories. A past forgotten to time. Ed feels this place is one he can rest in, so he does. Transitioning from this memory, N finds himself in that same place, the one he had come to call home for over the 3 years that he was missing. However, things seem off. A dark aura has infected this place, like a virus. This isn't good, N thinks, as he panics while crossing the massive lake. Every stroke seems to be draining, but he has to hurry. The one thing Team Plasma wants more than anything is on that island. Once getting to shore, N doesn't even dock the boat, merely spilling out onto the banks, rushing for his home. However, he finds the place rather calm, but it's not an easy one. Rushing inside, nothing seems disturbed. However, a guest that is very unwelcome awaits the young crusader. Father, N mutters. "Hello, son. I'm glad to see you are well. Tell me, did you find it hard to get here?" I sure did. After all, this is only the second time I've ever been. Second time? What do you mean by that? The would-be king asks. Oh, dear me, I thought you would have figured it out by now, but I guess it can't be helped. My dear boy, this is where I found you so many years ago. Explain. What do you mean found? Well, I don't know how else to put it. I found you one day, many years ago, while scouting for places listed in my family's book of Unova's past. This place has always been shrouded in mystery. So much so that not even my heritage knows what lies beyond its borders. But as I looked and searched, I became separated from the rest of my team, only to find myself lost in the vast expanse of this dream world. I searched for what seemed like an eternity for a way out, but nothing. Then, when I was about to give up hope, I stumbled upon a lake with an island. Off in the distance, I could hear a faint sound. I wasn't sure what it was, but I knew it needed my help. Wading through the water, I eventually found myself on the island, only for the sound that I heard to grow louder. I wandered inland in hopes of finding someone, only to come across a small house with a single room. But what I found was a sight no one hopes to find. People no longer living, a mother and father slain as their child lay crying on the floor of the house, left to starve. That child was you, and from what I found, it had been several weeks since you were alone. But it seemed like the Pokemon in this magical place had provided for you till the day someone would come. This to me didn't make sense. Why would Pokemon do this only to leave the child alive? Knowing I couldn't just leave you, I gave your parents the last rites they deserved, burying their remains at the base of the tree behind the house. Then, when gathering what I thought I would need, pieces of the travesty that had happened began to emerge. People were the cause of this unnecessary demise, not wild Pokemon. And you, such an innocent child, left for death. Fortunately, that did not happen. But it did take your speech. Though it seemed this experience had scared you, the bond you shared with the Pokemon here was an amazing one. It was this day I resolved two things. One, I would raise you as my own, as your father, passing on any knowledge of my people to you. And two, the only way to prevent something like this from happening again is for humans to have their choices taken away. Force was the only way to prevent something like this from happening again. Luckily for us, all we needed was the power of the legendary dragons, and I had a way to find them. When we left, it was like the dreamscape wanted us to leave, as the way out became very easy to find, within hours of us setting out. To this day, I'm convinced that it was fate that brought us together, so you could help me liberate Unova and the world from the virus that is humanity. Ian is having a hard time hearing this truth, a truth that is on the verge of shattering his reality. Everything he has learned since his time in the world outside of Team Plasma is coming undone. Ghetsis just smirks. It took me years to find this place again, but I was finally able to track it down when you opened the doorway here. I knew that you had brought the white stone here. It was only a matter of time until I could collect it, as Ghetsis holds the stone in his hand. Now, my son, I'm going to offer you this one last time. Take your place at my side as the king of the world. N is unresponsive, grappling with his inner turmoil as these long-suppressed memories come rushing back. Flashes of the night it happened replays in his mind like a cruel joke. Well, if you won't take my offer, then I will say this. Stay out of my way, unless you want this place to meet the fate of your parents. And with that, Ghetsis takes his leave, with no resistance from N, only an empty husk of his adoptive son. It's a shame, Ghetsis says. You had such potential. Now we flash to the present day, where we find ourselves in the presence of Ash and Colorus, as the sun has started to caress the top of the stadium. Spill it, old man. What do you know? Ash yells, with Riolu ready to attack. Easy, easy. I said I would tell you everything, but I have a question for you. What do you know about clone Pokemon? Puzzled, Ash claims he's never heard of that term before. I figured as much. Well, I, Colorus, seek to study the bonds of human and Pokemon. This has brought me to many corners of our world. In these places, I've seen people demonstrate these bonds in many different ways, through friendship, moves, and transformation. But another truth of this world became known on my travels. This world is a very dangerous place. Many myths and legends of great disasters and calamities happening across history. In every region, there seems to be some sort of super Pokemon that could end life on this planet as we know it. But for all the bad, there's good. Stories of heroes long forgotten that saved us from the brink of destruction. Okay, we get it, Colorus. The world is a scary place. Tell me what that has to do with my Riolu. Easy. I'm getting to it. I just needed you to understand something first. Fine, but pick it up. We don't have all day. It's here that Colorus' tones shift to one of desperation. Ash, remember when you fought Zekrom? Yeah, I do. No thanks to you and Team Plasma. Do you remember the aura that surrounded it? Thinking back, Ash remembers that intense aura. It was scary to say the least. Well, Zekrom isn't the only Pokemon that has the devastating aura about it. Every disaster across recorded history, there is a Pokemon like Zekrom at the center. You still haven't gotten to the part to where this involves my Riolu. With a sigh, Colress tells Ash that his travels brought him to a place known as the Kalos region. What's that? Ash questions. Kalos is a place like Unova, a region with a history and violence that spans thousands of years. They also have a Pokemon that has been at the center of many destructive conflicts in the past, but there's one thing that Kalos has most other regions don't. This finally gets Ash's attention fully on the conversation. What does this Kalos region have? He questions. It's a process called Mega Evolution, the ability for a Pokemon that is fully evolved to evolve again, unleashing a dormant but destructive power. It was this Mega Evolution that brought me to Kalos, as it can only be achieved when a Pokemon shares a strong bond with its trainer. Okay, but that still doesn't explain anything or what it has to do with my Riolu, but on the contrary, it does. You see, 3,000 years ago, it was said the first Pokemon to Mega Evolve in the Kalos region was a Pokemon known as Lucario. Why have I heard that name before? Ash wonders. Pulling out his Pokédex, it's here that Ash remembers back to when he met Riolu. The Pokédex had shown him a picture of a Pokemon that he didn't really pay much attention to. Yes, that's it. I was so fascinated with the lore of this Lucario that I looked into as deeply as I could. What I found is there was a major conflict in the Kalos region, and at the center was a legendary Pokemon bursting with a destructive aura, known as Yveltal. The region would have been lost if not for a lone warrior and his Lucario that stood up to this engine of destruction. Lucario used its ability to see and feel aura to battle the great beast. In the end, it was able to win, but at the cost of its own life. To pay homage to the fallen hero that saved the region, Kalos' ancient people built a massive tomb for the great warrior. Unfortunately, it was lost to time, or so I thought. In the Kalos region, there is a place known as the Tower of Mastery. This is a ceremonial place where the teachings of Mega Evolution are held. However, it has a much deeper secret. Beneath the tower, a tomb of a sleeping hero, one honored by all of Kalos, the final resting place of that Lucario. I knew this place existed, and after months of looking, I finally found the hidden entrance to the tomb. Inside was a burial fit for a king. However, it was highly booby-trapped, but eventually I was able to make it to the main chamber. There, I found what I sought, the remains of the once great hero. But that wasn't the only thing I found. Reaching into his pocket, Colress pulls out a stone. This stone starts to pulsate in the presence of Riolu. This is the Mega Stone that was used by Lucario in the past. At this point, Ash is disgusted. You robbed a grave, Colress? You're sick. How could you do that? Colress tries to tell the rest of his story, but it's here that the three visitors that have been watching ambush not only Ash and Riolu, but Colress as well. Riolu and Ash tried to put up a fight, while Colress orders the Shadow Triad to stop, but Necrosis speaks, demanding the silence of Colress. He has been relieved of his leadership in Team Plasma, and Master Ghetsis has ordered the capture of both him and the boy. Ash and Riolu go on the attack, but there is little they can do. The Triad took the time to plan this ambush. The two are quickly subdued, with Colress as well. Ash orders Riolu to break free as it surges with aura at the sight of Ash being captured. But a strange powder begins to fall over the prisoners as an Among Us is revealed, using a sleep powder to end what little rebellion they could mount. The last thing Ash hears as he fades is Necrosis saying, "Master Ghetsis, we got them." Hours later, Ash awakens in a place he has never seen before. Yelling, Ash tries to get the attention of anyone that could help him, but from the other side of the wall, a familiar voice, Colress, tells the boy it's no use. Ash immediately lays blame for this on the Team Plasma leader, only for Colress to correct him. "That's ex-leader. They have locked me in here as well." "Really? For what?" Ash asks. "Well, it seems they want to eliminate any resistance as they execute their final plans." Then, Ash realizes that Riolu isn't here. In a panic, he tries for his Pokeballs, but those are gone too. Colress tells Ash that he needs to calm himself. He won't be of any help to anyone worked up like that. Angered, Ash asks Colress how he could possibly know what he's feeling. "Because I was young once like you, so calm down and think." With a sigh, Ash sits down on the floor of his cell. It's here that he inquires about the rest of the story from Colress in order to distract himself from the matters at hand. "Oh, I thought you didn't want to hear it." "Well, if you tell it, then maybe it'll figure out a way for us to get out of here." "If you insist," Colress says. "Where was I? Oh yes, the tomb. When I opened the box that contained the Megastone and the remains of the hero, there was an inscription inside. What did it say? It read, "The world will meet destruction again one day. Only the one who can see the true roar will be able to save it." "Is that it?" Ash asks. "Yes," Colorus responds. It was at this moment that I knew I had to do something. For a long time, a mentor of mine, off in a place called the CANT region, Mr. Fuji, had long talked about the possibilities of cloning Pokemon, using their DNA to create a new life form. Until that moment, I had thought he was crazy, but once I realized that the destruction was coming again, I knew I had to do something. So I took a sample of the hero's DNA in the Megastone. I then left the Kalos region in search of the funds needed to carry out my plan. My travels brought me to Unova, where I was put in contact with Ghetsis, who was fresh off his shattered plans and betrayal of his son. We struck a deal. If I could find a way to control the legendary Pokemon of Unova, then he would fund my research. Knowing this was my only chance, I accepted. So I began my experiments, which resulted in many failures, until one managed to get past its embryo stages. This is where Ash chimes in. "Colorus, you still haven't gotten to the part to how Riolu is involved." Chuckling a little bit, "Ash, I thought that would have been obvious by now. You're Riolu. It's a clone of that hero that stopped the rampaging Aura Pokemon, Yveltal." "Wait, you're saying Riolu's a clone? A copy?" "Oh, it's much more than that, Ash. Riolu has grown in ways I never thought it would. That transformation you two have, I'm sure it's a form of Mega Evolution that you two have unlocked, which shouldn't be possible without a Megastone. But somehow, you two did it. I never thought my creation would go that far, but it found a trainer that it has bonded with, someone that will treat it like an equal, no matter its origins." Ash then has a question. "Colrus, how do you know that this great destruction will happen again?" "Well, that's the thing. After all of my travels and research, I was able to put together a timeline. These Aura Beasts, as I have come to call them, awaken once every 3,200 years or so. It happens in waves. Unfortunately, the first wave is happening as we speak with Zekrom and Reshiram. That was the first cycle. But now, an even more terrifying truth has come to reality. The third dragon, Kyurem, has been awakened as well." "Wait, there's a third dragon?" Ash questions. "Yes, as a matter of fact, it's on this ship, and Ghetsis aims to make it whole again, using its power to subjugate Unova under his rule. But he won't stop there. Ghetsis wants the world. Unova is only the first part of his plan, and you helped him achieve it," Ash yells. "How could you?" But Colorus tells Ash that it was never his intention to do anything like that. All of his research was meant to find ways to control the Aura Beasts. All of the tech that I've developed was meant to keep them dormant or control them to prevent the destruction. Alas, it seems the one thing that I have actually been able to do right was bring Riolu into this world. "Yeah, but we are stuck in here. Now it won't matter, as we can't stop Ghetsis from his plans." Ash yells in anger, slamming his fists on the ground. He begins to cry in frustration, unsure if Riolu or any of his Pokemon are okay. Over in the lab of Ghetsis, the Shadow Triad and their master are in full conversation. Pulling the black stone out from the containment field, Ghetsis orders Necrosis to put Riolu inside. If this machine could keep Zekrom dormant, then it should do the same for it. At this point, it and the boy are the only ones that could wreck our plans. "Master," Necrosis says, "it is time. I must go, to keep up appearances in the tournament. If I don't, then I fear that Hound Looker will catch on to our trail." "Very well. Beat your opponent, then return post-haste. There is work to be done." "Oh, it won't be long. My opponent won't be showing up, as he is currently our guest." "Oh, that's a lucky break. I guess things will be fast. Now go and hurry." "Yes, master." And with that, Necrosis fades away, leaving Andrio and Eclipse to serve their master. However, the conversations they have are held among the grunts of their team. This may have been a mistake, as one of them silently slips away from the main deck. Now we move over to the stadium in Nimbasa City, the site of the Victory Road tournament. It is here we find Iris and Roxy frantically searching for their friend Ash and Riolu. Unfortunately, no one has seen them since this morning. Even Hugh, Ash's childhood friend, has added into the search, only to turn up no results. This is bad. Something isn't right, Iris tells the other two. Sure, Ash is a bit of a kid, but there's no way he or Riolu would miss a major battle. The two were so excited to be in the top 4 of this tournament. Realizing just how dire the situation is, Iris decides to pull her weight as champion. Heading to the champions box, she speaks with Mr. Goodshow and Looker. Pleading her case, Iris urges the president to postpone the match until Ash can be found. She feels something may have happened to him. While Mr. Goodshow feels for Iris, there hasn't been any reason why they should do that. This is a high-level event, and it's not uncommon for trainers to get cold feet and run away. I'm sorry, Iris, but if he's not here on time, then Ash will be given a loss. Frustrated, Iris kicks the desk in front of her, then turns. You know, you are aware that Team Plasma has infiltrated the tournament, right? Ash even battled one. Yet you say there's no way something could have happened. I'm telling you that you're wrong. This is tied to whatever Team Plasma has planned. Aside from me, Ash is the only person they would want to eliminate. But you can't see that, so I guess I'll have to find him myself. Iris then runs off, back to Roxy and Hugh. That speech didn't fall on deaf ears, with Mr. Goodshow telling Looker to open an inquiry. Use anything at your disposal. You know I don't work for you, right? Looker says, walking off to follow the orders given. Arriving back with their friends, Iris informs them that they are on their own, so they need to fan out. Roxy tells Aurora to get up high. Look for any place that may have signs of Ash or Riolu. If it finds anything, then come to get her. Iris then sends out a Moga, and Hugh sends out his Unpheasant. The two trainers tell them to take to the skies, searching a grid pattern moving away from the stadium. If they find anything, come get them. With the objectives clear, the team fan out in hopes of finding their missing friend. Unfortunately, the team will not find Ash. His place of imprisonment is the plasma freight that has positioned itself far above the city with the sun to its back. This keeps them in plain sight, but out of sight. Unfortunately, the altitude they keep is far higher than your standard bird Pokemon could even consider flying. So, it's the perfect place to hide from everyone. We find ourselves following up with Colorus and Ash. He screams and kicks the walls demanding to see his Pokemon. A combination of frustration and tears fill the boy's cries. It isn't long before Ash is in the fetal position on the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. Riolu, I'm sorry, he thinks to himself. Colorus tries to console the boy, but it's to no avail. Ash won't listen, concerned only for his Pokemon. This continues until he eventually tires out, falling asleep. It's here Ash finds himself in a dream. Echoes can be heard. Not sure of what's going on, he looks around in this void of time and space, but not one that Ash has not felt before. It's faint, but he can feel Riolu. Ash begins running in the expanse of the void, not by sight, but by instinct. Riolu is calling him. The two have a bond that not even Culver's could explain, something that transcends the laws of understanding. Riolu's close. Ash can feel it, like his starter is right beside him. Then, through the void of nothing, he can hear a faint sound. It's slowly getting louder, and louder, and louder, until Ash shoots up, awake from a low whisper. Hey Ash, you're Ash, right? Who's there? No time to explain. Just know that my name is Gordon, and I'm a friend. Hurry, you need to move before they know I'm gone. Then, the door slightly opens to his cell. Ash peers at the door, only to find no one there. Stepping out, Ash is met with Colorus, which slightly startles the boy. What? Why are you out? It seems Gordon has freed us both. But why you? Do you really want the answers to such a trivial question, or do you want to find Riolu? Colorus asks. How do I know I can trust you? Listen, at this point, I'm sure Ghetsis has terminated my contract with Team Plasma, or he wouldn't have locked me into a cell. So, do you want my help or not? Out of options, Ash reluctantly accepts the scientist's help. Where would they keep Riolu? My guess is my lab. It's the only place with a containment unit to suppress the aura-based Pokemon. It's here that Colorus has a moment of clarity. If it's there, then... Colorus, what is it? Ash asks. We have no time. We need to move now. Everyone on the ship is in danger. The two make their way to Colorus' lab, avoiding any Team Plasma grunts along the way. Down below the deck, Ghetsis treks to the deepest parts of the ship. His goals are mere moments away. Everything that he has done has led to this point. Reaching a giant door, clad in a thick coat of ice, Ghetsis chips away at it until he hits a keypad. Punching in a code that only he knows, the sounds of gears grinding begin to take place as the doors struggle to break their ice shackles. While this is happening, Andriel and Eclipse watch on with smiles on their face. The time has finally come. Back on the upper decks, Ash and Colorus have finally reached his lab. Unfortunately, the doors won't open. They've been locked, and his code will not override it. This couldn't have come at a worse time. There are grunts on every hall patrolling. Colorus begins to hack the control panel, attempting to gain access, but time is short. Shadows appear at the corner as Ash urges Colorus to hurry. Things look grim. They are going to get caught. Then, just as the grunts begin to turn, the ship begins to rock violently, knocking the guards off balance. To Ash, this is a good sign, telling Colorus to hurry. But for the blonde-haired man, this is something much more dangerous than being caught. With panic setting in, Colorus is able to get the door open just as the rocking subsides. With the doors closing behind him and the guards unaware, Colorus immediately heads for his computer. But this isn't the main concern for Ash. He sees Riolu in the containment unit, so he begins pushing any button he can to open it. This, unfortunately, has an unwanted side effect. An alarm is set off throughout the ship, triggering Colorus to yell at the boy. No! What have you done? You couldn't wait until I freed Riolu? Now we will have every grunt here within minutes. It's not my fault. If you would have just helped me, then I wouldn't have to be the one to set off the alarm, he says angrily as he's being yelled at. Colorist snaps back. You being impatient has cost us precious time. If I don't stop Ghetsis from opening the chamber, then a power that not even Zekrom or Reshrom can beat will be unleashed, and Unova is done for. Well, what can I do? Ash asks. Colorist looks at the boy. Then he hits a button on the console. This frees Ash's starter. He then tells Ash to go. He needs to get off the ship and warn everyone. The horror that is coming will ravage the land. But what about my Pokemon, he questions. They are most likely on the bridge of the ship, in the main room of Ghetsis. Get there and you will find them. With Riolu still out, Ash has no choice but to carry it. After showing Ash how to get there, Colorist urges the young trainer to hurry. Time is a luxury they don't have. Taking off, Ash leaves Colorist with a thanks for helping him get Riolu. As the doors shut, Colorist aims to keep Ghetsis out of that room. Down below, Ghetsis begins to anger at the doors not opening. Though the ice is thick, it would not stop the doors. No, there's something else. Turning, Ghetsis tells the two Triad members to find Colorist. He's gotten free somehow. They then fan out, aiming to please their master. Back with Ash, he is trying his best to steady while carrying Riolu. Fortunately, all of the jostling around awakens the starter. Riolu, you're awake. Are you okay? Sensing its surroundings, Riolu is a bit confused. The last thing it remembers is the Triad. Then it becomes defensive, only for Ash to laugh briefly in the moment. Always ready to battle, that's my buddy. But don't worry, we don't have to right now. But Ash quickly finds out that this is not the case, as the grunts find him and Riolu. Luckily, it takes little to dispatch them, and the two keep moving. Unfortunately, this seems to be a pattern, with more and more of these grunts emerging to challenge the two. It's to the point that Riolu is taking on 5+ grunts at once. While they are not powerful, the sheer numbers are the problem. With only Riolu, things are becoming difficult. However, fortune smiles on the duo as they have reached their destination. Opening the door with the code that Colorist gave him, Ash finds himself on the bridge, which is completely empty. But he needs to get to the room on the other side. Ash notices Riolu is a little bit tired, but they have to keep moving. They are able to make it to the room where on the desk sits many Pokeballs. Ash runs over only for Panic to wash across his face. Which one is it? He yells, but Riolu has little problem finding them, sensing the aura of each Pokemon inside. This is great. Now we have all of our friends back. Ash and his partner then turn to leave, but are stopped dead in their tracks by their oldest rivals, Andriel and his Excelgor. This isn't good. Riolu's worn out, and now Andriel wants to battle. The lowest of the Triad tells Ash he's waited far too long for this, sending in another of his Pokemon, a Scolipede. Riolu steps forward, ready to battle, but Ash stops it, electing to use another of his Pokemon instead. Boulder, Swanna, I choose you. The two Pokemon emerge ready to defend their trainer. This battle is an intense one, with no rules or help from others. Andriel is a ruthless opponent, doing whatever he can to take Ash out. Landing hit after hit on his Pokemon, Ash is unsure of what to do, but Riolu steps forward, glowing an aura to lend a hand. With this new help, the trio does away with Andriel, as he runs out of anything to battle with. Though they were victorious, it came at a cost. 3 of Ash's Pokemon have taken serious damage. Recalling Swanna and Boulder, Ash then takes off with Riolu in tow. The next stop is the escape pods that are on the 4th level of the ship. However, this is not a journey that will be an easy one, with Ash having to battle more grunts and resorting to using Levani and Krokorok. Though the two win their battles, Ash's team is starting to show signs of fatigue. They can't keep this up much longer. Luckily though, they won't have to, as they reach the level with the escape pods. Boarding, Ash can't help but to wonder if Colorist and the danger he spoke of as he is sent flying away from the ship. Back in the lab, Colorist has locked Ghetsis out, and is now turning his sights to something else. It's time to sink this ship for good. The mountains just outside of Nimbasa are the closest place. The containment unit should hold that monstrosity imprisoned during the crash. Colorist then sets the computer on a crash course, then locks the system from anyone gaining access, only for Eclipse to join the scientist, telling him Master Ghetsis would like to have a word. Smiling, Colorist then hits a button on the console that activates a barrier separating the two. Tell him I'll be right here whenever he wants to stop by. Now, we follow up with Ash. He has made it safely out of the plasma freight and landed on the edge of the complex, where the Pokemon League is being held. Realizing he needs to get to Iris and Riolu to a Pokemon Center, Ash runs carrying Riolu on his back. But this is not a short sprint. Luckily, there seem to be a low number of people, almost like everybody has been called away. But Ash can't worry about that now. The stadium is up ahead. A sense of relief washes over Ash as he makes it inside of the establishment. Ash sees a clear path for the Pokemon Center and makes a beeline for the door. However, in the rush, Ash is stopped by one of the tournament officials who questions where he's been. Ash tries to answer, but is cut off as he is shoved in the direction of the elevator. The official radios in, "I found the boy, and they are on their way now. But hey, I have to tell you about Team Plasma," Ash says. "Don't worry, kid, we know. Everything is fine. But we have to go. Everyone is waiting for you." Slightly relieved, but more confused, Ash goes along with this, as it seems everyone is aware of what's happening due to the broken chatter that he's hearing over the officials' comms. But it isn't long till Ash realizes that there has been a huge misunderstanding. This guy has brought him to the battlefield. Ash is then shoved into the elevator that leads him up to the battle area as he tries to communicate what's going on. But the doors close before he can get a word out. Once at the top, Ash begins to piece together what's going on. This battle is the one in the top 4. The crowd is cheering as they finally get to have the match that they've been waiting for, while Iris, Hugh, Mr. Goodshow, and Looker all breathe a sigh of relief. But Iris will have to give Ash a good scolding about disappearing for training like that without telling anyone, but that can wait until later. For now, she's glad her friend is safe. But there's one person that is surprised to see Ash, his opponent, who we know as Necrosis. He was expecting for this to be an easy win, but if Ash is here, that means things back on base may not be going so well. Necrosis has to do everything he can not to break character. His orders are clear. He's to win his way through the tournament and get to the finals. But he watches Ash, realizing that he is in a panic, which means the boy wasn't expecting to battle. It's in this, Necrosis sees his path to victory. Leaving Riolu at the side of the battlefield, Ash signals over the ref. The conversation that follows is one of Ash telling the ref he can't battle. He's not ready for a 6-on-6 Pokemon match. The ref tells him that they have delayed long enough due to his absence. If he refuses to battle, then Ash will have to take the forfeit. What? But that's not fair. No, what's not fair is you making everyone wait on you. The match was scheduled to start 45 minutes ago. The only reason you weren't disqualified is because Mr. Goodshow insisted that you would be here. Now, take your position or forfeit. Those are your two options. Necrosis can overhear the conversation, so he pokes and prods, asking questions like, "What's taking so long?" or "Are we going to start?" It's here that Ash realizes he's in a tough spot. He has no choice but to turn to the ref. Ash begins to tell him that they will concede the match. However, before he can get the words out, an aura sphere is fired to get his attention. Riolu is up, and it knows what Ash is thinking, but that is not an option, nor should it be an option for Ash. "But Riolu, you're hurt. The team is hurt. You all need medical attention." But the starter stands its ground. They have been worse off before. The way Riolu sees it, the only way to go down is fighting. Ash knows that this is the wrong choice, but he did promise Riolu he would trust it, as it trusts Ash. "Okay, if we do this, then we can't be reckless." Riolu nods as Ash turns to the ref. "We're in." Finally, the ref thinks, "We can start. I still have a whole nother match after this one." Giving the signal, the ref tells the two combatants to take their places. This match is about to start. Ash, already at his, mulls over his choices left. There's only really one Pokemon that he hasn't used, and he will refrain from using that choice for as long as possible. Meanwhile, Necrosis is a little annoyed. How did this boy get out? What is going on back at the base? Why do I have to face him? I'm beginning to see why Andrew despises the boy so. No matter, if he has to battle, then Necrosis will honor their request by completely ending this boy. The ref starts the count, as Hugh and Iris look on, cheering for their friend, as they hear the boy called, "Boldor, I choose you." Starting off with a golem of his own, Necrosis chooses to lead with Golurk. The ghostly titan hits, towering over Ash and this pitiful boulder. "Boulder, it's time to put that defense to use. Let's show them what we're made of. Use rock polish." Gleaming in a shine, Boulder softens the edges to reduce its resistance. Not really caring about a stat boost at this time, Crosis commands the most devastating move in his Mon's arsenal, Heavy Slam. With Boulder still not done with its polishing, Golurk has a free opening to throw all of its weight in its direction. Ash sees what's going to happen and yells to Boulder. Hearing the call, Boulder digs in as it's buried under the girth of its opponent. Golurk begins to shuffle off the pile of pebbles that used to be Ash's Pokemon. Necrosis smiles, looking down at the boy, but the reaction he gets isn't one he expects. As a matter of fact, what he hears isn't the sound of anguish, it's a command. "Boldor, use Flash Cannon." Now fighting not to fall back, Golurk uses its hands to block what it can of the energy beam. Unfortunately, it's not in the favor of the golem, taking the brunt of the attack. With the light dying down, Necrosis realizes his mistake. Sturdy is the ability of this thing. Well, no matter. The next attack will end this. Necrosis calls for his move, but Ash is confident with the successful defense of the last exchange. Now, he aims to use his speed to evade. That is, until the move's called. Shadow Punch. Though Boulder has a great endurance, it can't stand this, and it's quickly dealt with, ending Ash's first Pokemon. It was a long shot, Ash thinks, but thanks Boulder, as he recalls it. Knowing he needs to gain any advantage that he can, Ash goes with Water. Swanna, I choose you. As the flyer takes to the sky, Ash aims to use immunity and type advantage here. Over with the International Man of Mystery, Looker is met with one of his officers. They have provided him with a report. There seems to be some kind of disturbance on the edge of the city. Locals are reporting a ship fell from the sky near the mountains right outside the city. His eyes widen. A ship, gather your men. We leave now. Back with Ash, he watches as his second Pokemon has fallen. This Golurk took out Swanna, but it did take a lot of damage enduring the bubble beams. Recalling the bird, Ash is beginning to see a way to win. Golurk is looking tired. Levani, I choose you. The Mother Mantis takes the field with its blades ready to dice. Necrosis knows that Golurk is pushing it, but this is just a formality, so whatever damage it can cause will go a long way. Starting, Golurk leads with its hidden ace as its fist ignites in flames. A fire punch is now coming the way of Levani, but unlike Boulder, Ash's bug has natural speed. Levani uses it as it gracefully dodges, running up Golurk's arm to land a leaf blade. This is enough to end the battle, finally giving Ash a win on the board. Yes! Our hero cheers. Confident things are moving in their favor. Necrosis recalls his tank. It's done what it was needed for. So speed is Ash's game. Now it's Necrosis, as he sends in his next Pokemon, Lilligant. The grass type hits the field, with Ash complimenting his opponent on the elegance of the Southern Belle. Not wanting to blow his cover, Necrosis lies through his teeth, telling Ash, thank you. He's very proud of it. This is where the match starts. Though Levani is battle-worn, it quickly becomes obvious that Lilligant is outmatched. Necrosis is fighting his urge to break character, distracting him partially, allowing Ash to take the lead when Lilligant takes the next Scizor. This knocks Necrosis back into character as he watches his Mon fall needlessly. Now off his tilt, Necrosis gathers himself. It seems a little aggression is what's needed here. Eat more. Go! The Bug Eater hits the field, ready to turn Levani into its next meal. Ash knows that Levani can't win. It's at its limits of what it can do. Just the fact that it can still stand after the win it took is amazing. So he recalls it for something much more in his favor. Krokorok, I choose you. The Desert Croc readies itself for battle, clearly less worn out than its teammates. What follows is a battle of digs as both Pokemon tunnel underneath the terrain. Though Ash should have the advantage here, things are proving more difficult than expected. Taking the hits it needs to, Krokorok is able to gain the upper hand, expelling the poor excuse for a tunneler from its territory, but not before getting caught in a fire spin. Luckily, Krokorok has a resistance to this, allowing it to follow up with a Stone Edge that one-shots Heatmor, eyeing things in Ash's favor. It's great, he tells the sand reptile. Ash is starting to think that he can actually do this. However, this is where he's going to find his hardest challenge, as a person standing before him will not let Ash gain any momentum. Recalling the fire type, Necrosis has a surefire way to regain control and keep it. Galvantula! Go! Suddenly, the field sparks as a spider-like bug enters the fray. Ash can immediately tell that this is an electric type, so he thinks this is a no-brainer to keep in his ground type. This will be nothing but net. This false sense of security gives Ash the idea to forego any type of setup, calling for a Dragon Claw from the Croc, but it's quickly shut down when Galvantula springs a trap that had been laying in wait. Electroweb. Ash just laughs, knowing full well that electric types won't work. That is, until Necrosis tells the boy that's not what the main goal was, pointing to the battlefield. Krokorok is very much stuck, unable to move, even trying a Stone Edge to break its confinements. The Desert Croc and Ash can do nothing but become the next meal for the bug when it begins to use Leech Life, sucking all of the health from the Mon and ending the battle. Realizing his options are running low, Ash sends back in Levani in hopes that the grass typing will provide some coverage. The problem is, Levani is so low on health and endurance, it is quickly dealt with. Recalling it, Ash is now out of options. It's Riolu or Gerudogon. Riolu is the Pokemon that has battled the most, while Gerudogon still won't listen. But Riolu steps forward, calming the boy's nerves. Glowing in its usual aura when its endurance has been reached, the leader of Ash's team takes its place, ready for a clean sweep. This pleases Necrosis, as he doesn't think that they have ever had the chance to truly battle, so this will be a treat to beat the Pokemon that Andriel had so much trouble with. Leaving the Leaven and Spider, the match starts with Necrosis using an Electroweb to slow down Riolu's increased speed. But Ash compensates for this by ordering a quick attack, outpacing everything that Galvantula can do, as it is smacked with the Force Palm at the command of Ash. This finally gives the group a lucky break, as paralysis sets in. The Electric Spider is now stunned. This allows Riolu to wrap up this battle very quickly with its ace move, Aura Sphere, bringing the match back down to even Pokemon remaining. Both Ash and Riolu are sinking their feelings once more, Before Necrosis can even make his next choice, a burst of aura engulfs Riolu, taking on the form that has become the talk of the tournament. However, the leader of the Shadow Triad isn't worried. He's wanted this one-on-one for quite some time. With no hesitation on his end, Necrosis sends in his most powerful Pokemon, Bisharp. Ash knows from past battles with the Shadow Triad, this type of Pokemon could be trouble. So he tells Riolu to be on guard. Things could get messy. Taking its favorite defensive position, Riolu readies itself. Necrosis wastes no time ordering Bisharp on the attack. The first move is simple but powerful, Hone Claws. The metal marvel sharpens its arms and focuses by striking the surrounding rocks, shattering many of them in the process. What looks like a free opening to Ash looks to be a trap in this instance. He's trying to bait us, but Ash knows Riolu is on the tired side. They won't be able to keep a prolonged battle going, so big damage is what they need. Ash orders a barrage of Borospheres to blanket the battlefield. With its enhanced speed, Riolu streaks across the terrain in a blur, firing as many as possible. However, this is quickly dealt with as each is cut down by a Night Slash. Though the type advantage lies solely with Ash, it's clear that Bisharp has been trained to deal with fighting types. This is made abundantly clear when Riolu missteps slightly, showing the signs of its fatigue, only to be met with an aerial ace that craters it. Not good, Ash thinks, as he yells to his starter. Riolu is able to stand back up, with the only reason being that the aura provided some cushion for the impact. Unhappy that that strike did not finish things, Necrosis orders another Hone Claws to make sure the next one is a sure knockout. Ash realizes they have to do something if they wish to stand a chance, so he orders a quick attack. The speed boost this provides Riolu the ability to combo with the Force Palm that manages to hit its foe, but it's not enough, as when Riolu aims to land the attack, its senses is blurred, as at the last moment preventing it from landing a potentially battle-ending blow. Ash calls to it, allowing the canine to shake off its haziness just in time, allowing it to avoid an Iron Head from Bisharp. But the attack was very close, too close for our hero. However, Riolu chooses to press on, believing it can do this. Realizing he needs to keep Riolu at a distance, Ash tells it to charge the biggest Aura Sphere that it can. They will end this in one assault. Doing so, Riolu gathers a ball of aura in his palms, far brighter and larger than any before it. This is their chance. Nothing will take this win from them. Ash orders Riolu to fire, but Necrosis has other plans, calling for another aerial ace, but telling Bisharp to put a spin on its dive. Doing so allows the dark chess piece to match the flow of the Aura Sphere and the ball pushing through it and landing a clean hit on Riolu, dropping it for the final time. No, Ash mutters. Riolu, are you okay? Ash walks out to his starter, lying unconscious. Picking it up, Ash tells Riolu that it did its best, but after all the hard battling it's done today, there's no reason to be upset that they couldn't win. Turning, Ash walks back to his side of the field, contemplating his next move. He really only has one, and if he's being honest with himself, it's not a great one. He knows he should end the battle here, but all they worked for the last year would be for nothing if he just gave up. Pulling out the last bell on his belt, "You're my final hope, Gerudo. I choose you." Emerging from its ball, the battle-hardened dragon looks around, wondering why it's being called upon. Up in the champions box, Iris is pulling out her hair. What has Ash been doing? This battle is not him. All of his Pokemon look like they've been run down, like he's been overtraining them all day, or taking them through intense battles. This is not him. And now all he has is Gerudo. Things are not looking so good. While this is happening, he was watching the battle very closely, not because he's suspicious, but because whoever wins could be his opponent in the finals. Back with Ash, he's telling Gerudo that this is a real battle. They don't have any time for its stubbornness, but as it looks at the boy, Gerudo notices Riolu is down. Turning its gaze to the Bisharp across the field, the shiny dragon puts everything together. At this point, the talking from Ash becomes a low murmur in the background, as Gerudo has one thing on its mind. If that thing could beat Riolu, then it's definitely something Gerudo would like to test its strength again. The battle is called to start, with neither powerhouse wasting any time. They begin to trade blows. Ash is trying to command Gerudo, calling for moves that he thinks will help, but the dragon refuses to listen, caught up in the heat of the battle. The two trade Night Slashes, Gerudo being dead even with Bisharp, much to the surprise of Necrosis and the annoyance of Ash. He just wants this Pokemon to listen for once, but no, it just attacks and attacks, ignoring the orders it's given by its trainer. Things come to a head literally when Necrosis calls for an Iron Head, but Gerudo has something special for this thing. Swelling with a devastating power, the dragon focuses all of its strength into one arm, using its claw to absorb the attack while grabbing its target. Now firmly in the clutches of the enemy, Bisharp can't move or escape even at the behest of its trainer. Nothing can be done as this life-size chess piece is driven into the arena floor with all of the force Gerudo can mutter, ending this battle, allowing the dragon in its mind to one-up Riolu by beating the opponent that it couldn't. Necrosis is shocked. How could this boy, no, this dragon who doesn't even listen to its trainer, test his ace? This isn't possible. Things aren't looking too good for the Triad leader. He's got one Pokemon left, and that Gerudogon will be a problem. Necrosis has no choice. His orders are clear. He must win. He recalls Bisharp watching Ash celebrate his victory, almost as a taunt. But no matter, he must complete his mission. With the final choice now in hand, a call can be heard. Liepard, go! The mischievous cat takes to the field, somewhat triggering Hugh in the audience, as he remembers the reason that he's made it this far, to find Purloin. Crosus knows that he has to be careful. One wrong move and things will be over. The battle is ordered to start, so wanting to take priority, Necrosis calls for a sucker punch, trying to deal any damage as fast as he can. But the move fails to land, as Ash and the entire stadium watch something unbelievable happen. Gerudogon has begun a nap, just lying down in the middle of the battle area, snoozing away. Ash sees this, and what was once a confident look on his face turns to a look of panic as he pleads with his dragon to continue the battle. But nothing. Gerudogon is snoring away, having done what it wanted to, which is one-up Riolu. With Gerudogon unwilling to battle and Ash out of usable Pokemon, the ref has no choice but to call it. Necrosis is declared the winner as the crowd grows silent. Ash drops to his knees. This day, nothing has gone right for him. And now this. Reluctantly, he recalls Gerudogon. Then, he tries to congratulate his opponent on a battle well fought. But Necrosis simply turns, not wanting to spend any more time here than he has to. Meanwhile, above, Iris looks on, as she can't help but feeling a bit of sadness over watching the loss of her friend. She has watched him grow over the last 12 months, and though he can be a bit of a pain, he is a real friend. The sentiment is felt by Roxy on stage and Hugh in the stands. The moment is kind of a depressing one. All they can do is watch as Ash walks off the field with Riolu firmly in his grasp. Back at the downed plasma freight, Andrew and Eclipse do what they can to reach Master Ghetsis. The crash was pretty bad, and the ship is now more than a heap of metal at this point. However, they are eventually able to make it to the containment room to find Ghetsis unconscious, having been hit in the head by a stray cargo box when they landed. Meanwhile, outside of Nimbasa City, about a day's walk, a familiar green-haired man makes his way frantically, hoping that he's not too late. Later that night at the Pokemon Center, after Ash has checked in his Pokemon, he is approached by Iris. She tries to engage with him, but is stonewalled at every turn. That is, until she mentions the events of today. She tells Ash that if he hadn't been training during the morning, then he wouldn't have lost track of time and would have had time to change out of Gerudogon for something else. This whole statement sets Ash off. "You think I would lose track of time on an important day like this?" he yells. This shuts Iris up real fast, as Ash rambles on about the events of what happened. Spilling everything, a ton of frustration takes over the boy. He would have won if the Shadow Triad hadn't interfered. This is where Iris finally interrupts, asking how Ash got away. With a deep sigh, Ash says, "Colorus. He helped me. He caused a distraction and told me how to escape. Now, I don't know what happened to him. He's not a bad guy. Just has his priorities a little backwards," Ash says. It's at this point that Roxy, Hugh, and Silent join the duo mid-conversation. As always, Team Plasma is a sore spot for Hugh. Even that Colress guy, he's bad news. While the conversation is going on, Necrosis is listening from a spot that he picked out. He was concerned. The kid shouldn't have been there in the first place. Now, with the freight unresponsive and Ash free, things are not looking good for Team Plasma's return. He must re-establish contact at once. Meanwhile, back at the site of the crash, Ghetsis has finally awoke. He's not happy, to say the least. His first response is, "Where are the orbs and the DNA splicers?" But Eclipse puts their master's fears to rest, handing over the ancient items. "Where is the traitor Culverus?" the leader demands. Andrew begins to fill Ghetsis in on everything that's happened since they found him. Then, the big question. Has there been any movement from the chamber? The two Triad members tell the master, aside from sounds of falling debris, there have not been any other movements in the chamber. Well, at least Culverus did something right in building his containment devices. But only he can open them. So, what's our next move, Master? Eclipse, I know by now you have found a way into that place he has trapped himself inside. Yes, I have. Good. Bring him to me. It's time we did a little convincing to bring him around to our side. Back over with our heroes, the group is talking about the severity of the situation. Team Plasma has been present ever since the start of the tournament. Now they have resorted to kidnapping participants in order to further their goals. This makes Ash even more furious, while Hugh chimes in with the truth that everyone seems to have overlooked. Tomorrow is the finals, which means that they will have to strike then, or they will miss their chance. "Wow, you're right," Roxy says. Then a voice speaks up from behind the group that Iris knows all too well. "Looker," she says. So, you think the same thing? Yes, I've been listening on what you guys had to say. What I can say is that the police have lost track of the plasma freight right before the start of your match, Ash. This would lead me to believe that something happened for Team Plasma to be grounded, but where remains to be seen. However, I'm sure that they will make their presence known within the next 24 hours. Well, what can we do, Hugh asks. That is simple. Nothing. We need you guys to go on about your day like nothing has happened. Let the police handle this. But looker, Iris says. But nothing, the secret agent says. Last time you helped us and I am grateful for that. But that was 3 years ago. We've learned a lot. And now the international police are ready to deal with any threat. Iris tries to persuade the agent, but he's not having it. This is a police matter. Besides, the tournament isn't over. And if I'm correct, your young friend still has a match tomorrow, right? Yeah, I guess you're right, Iris says reluctantly. Well then, it's settled. You will leave everything to us. Then Ash hears a call from the PA system telling him that his Pokemon are finally ready to be picked up. This gets Ash engaged on another topic as he hasn't seen Riolu or his other Pokemon in a few hours. So he runs from the group. The group then disperses as they have a lot of things that have to be done in preparation for the final day of the tournament. Iris has champion duties to attend to. Hugh has a team to prepare, while Roxy and Silent have been hitting it off as the two former gym leaders have been working on Roxy's routine for the finals tomorrow. This just leaves Ash. He meets his starter at the counter. It's a little banged up, but Nurse Joy says it'll be fine. Ash is glad to hear it. He then looks at Riolu. It has a disappointed look on his face. Ash knows the reason why, so he tries to comfort it by saying that he knows things didn't go their way. All they have worked for over the last year, just for them to lose in the semifinals. He's just as mad as Riolu is. Looking at his trainer, it can sense that this statement is true, but Ash follows up with another thing that he was thinking about. If their team wasn't so exhausted from dealing with Team Plasma, then he knew that they would have won for sure. Look what they did. They almost won the whole thing. But don't worry, buddy. There will be another chance to win. Not now, but soon. I can feel it. Riolu smiles with a nod. They will get it next time. But in the back of the Aura Coyote's mind, what Colorist told them today keeps her playing. It's a clone. What does that mean for it as a living being? However, this is something it has nothing but time to think about, as they don't really have to battle anytime soon. With that, Ash and Riolu head to their room for the night, to rest up for the long day ahead. Meanwhile, a distant cry can be heard that causes Iris's Pokeball with Fracture in it to slightly shake, as if it's signaling something is going to happen. Later that night, Riolu and Ash are fast asleep, but this isn't a tranquil sleep. Both are having a very real dream. You could almost call it a nightmare. Although both are separate entities, the experience they share is the same. In this dreamscape, a terrifying monster of lightning, fire, and ice is attacking Unova. At its command is that man they battled back in the village of the dragons. Looking around, the duo all find their friends have been frozen in pillars of ice that freeze anything that come in contact with it. It's an eternal prison. Riolu and Ash ready themselves, as there's no one else to defend from this onslaught. But as they prepare to unleash their ultimate weapon, a dark pulse of energy, then a bright light surge their way. It's too fast, and our heroes can't deflect the power from these attacks. The chaotic energy engulfs the two in what looks like their final moments, only for both to wake up from their awful experience. Looking at each other, both know what they just felt was no dream. It was a warning. Ash then smells something and bolts from his room as his bed is smoldering from the energy that he and Riolu manifested while they were in that dream. The next morning, Ash and Riolu are eating when they are joined by Hugh. "You look terrible, Ash." "Yeah, I really didn't sleep much last night. Riolu and I had a really terrifying dream." "Well, that sucks. Maybe it was just stressed from the day. One last stop before letting you guys move on." "I hope so," Ash says, "but that's not what we should be talking about. Hugh, you're in the finals. Are you ready?" Looking at the floor, Hugh sighs. "Not really," he says. "After thinking a lot last night, I feel like it should be you out there, not me." "No, don't do that," Ash yells. "If you think like that, then you will lose before you even began." "But Ash, you are the one who is the more impressive trainer, and you got cheated." While Riolu watches, he sees what his trainer is best at doing, lifting up the people around him. "Look, Hugh, you didn't work any less harder than anyone else here. You won your badges and beat each opponent that came your way to get where you are. This is what you've earned, whether you think so or not." "Thanks, Ash. I needed to hear that." Then, the two continue to eat, talking about the match that is scheduled in 2 hours' time. Meanwhile, Necrosis is trying to establish contact with the others throughout the night, with little effect. He's effectively on his own. This has caused him to waver slightly in his convictions, debating whether or not he should continue on with his facade and go through with the battle he has scheduled. But his loyalty is to Ghetsis, and he has his orders. So, he continues in his attempts for what little time they have left. That is, until he notices something. Familiar faces have been slowly popping up throughout the area. Staff members he may have worked for in a different profession. Smiling, Necrosis knows what this means as he prepares for the final stages of the plan. Over with Iris, she is following up with Looker in an attempt to persuade him on letting her help. After all, she is the champion, though she's been looking for well over an hour now, but nothing. She knows that he is always working and may be indisposed, but no one has seen him, not since yesterday as a matter of fact. This causes concern with the young champion. Looker has never been absent this long. With the finals only 1 hour away, Iris begins her precautions as she picks up the phone and dials a number. Now, we are 30 minutes before the competition with Roxy and Silent. They are fine-tuning the equipment with their band. Silent and Roxy are talking about the day. This is Roxy's biggest performance ever. She can't wait to take the stage. Every day has been better than the last as she looks at the egg Pierce gave her. Then, Roxy flashes back to a conversation that she had with Pierce the night before. He invited her to go to the Gala region for a region-wide tour with him. She wouldn't be the opening act, but the headline of the tour with the Galarian gym leader. But he didn't want her answer then. She could wait until after the finals. But her daydream is then interrupted by Silent yelling at somebody who is in the area. Hey, this is personnel only, but the shadowy figure says nothing. So Silent figures that maybe this person is lost, so he better go have a chat with them. Waving to Roxy not to worry, he'll be right back. Silent runs off, with her now in a rush to get ready the details of their final performance. Now we find ourselves at the site of the main event. Ash and Riolu look down from the crowd as Hugh stands across from his final opponent of the tournament, while everyone around them cheers for this momentous occasion. Ash and Riolu still have a strong feeling in the pit of their stomach, the same one they felt after they had that dream, but this isn't about them. Hugh needs their support, so Ash tells Riolu that they need to cheer on their friend, oblivious to the cloud that is beginning to form over his starter. The match starts and Hugh goes in big, sending in his Electros, while Necrosis, seemingly have calmed from earlier, chooses to start off with his Golurk. The match starts with a big move, Shadow Punch and Giga Drain, while the finals get underway. In the shadows, things have started to move. Roxy is the first person to notice that something is up, as while she is in between songs, she realizes that Silent hasn't come back yet, but she's the only one that seems to think that's strange. Roxy tells her band that she's going to go find Silent, much to their protest, as they will have to perform at the halftime mark. Telling them not to worry, she will be back before then, Roxy tells Zora to let's go, so the two take off with urgency in every step. Up in the champions box, Iris has felt the ominous presence. Unsure on why, her only hope is that her contacts are able to get here within the hour, if for anything, her own peace of mind. So, to take her mind off things, Iris indulges in the battle below, as Hugh manages to secure the first win with Electros, landing a devastating crunch to knock out Golurk. There is one thing she has to admit. Hugh could be the next one to challenge her, and he has grown into quite the trainer over the last year. He's even better than Ash, though she would never tell her friend that. Down on the battlefield, things are firmly in Hugh's favor. His Electros has claimed its second victory over Lilligant, though this win did take a lot out of it. Hugh is feeling pretty confident. This guy is a pushover. If Ash's team wasn't so worn out the way they were, then it would have had been us two in the finals. This brings the boy into a false sense of security, as his opponent has been just biding his time until the true main event. But he must put on some sort of show, and he has the perfect way to do it, especially if it's this boy. Looking to stir up trouble, Necrosis sends in his Lipard. The deceitful feline takes the field, slightly triggering Hugh. Every time he sees one, it reminds him of his mission to bring back the one that his grandfather had gave him. But a battle is still a battle, and that won't stop him. So he orders his Thunderstake to claim the third victory. But things go much different, as Lipard takes advantage of Electros' fatigue, ending the battle with a very sneaky fake out. But this wasn't just any fake out, as the strike happens with an eye shot of Hugh, allowing him to finally get a good look at it. The right paw. There's a slight patch of missing hair. Suddenly, Hugh flashes back to the day he got Purloin. There was an incident where they were playing, but they were attacked by a flock of Rowlet. Purloin did its best to defend the two. However, it didn't get away unscathed, as the talons of the Rufflet are very sharp, and caught its paw during the scuffle. Though they got away, Purloin was left with a scar that the fur would not grow in. It wasn't long after that Purloin was taken by a man. It's here that all the tumblers fall into place, and Hugh puts it all together. "You!" he screams. "You're the one who took Purloin. That Lipard is the one that my grandfather gave me and my sister." Necrosis firmly denies this, saying he's the only trainer that this Lipard has ever had. But Hugh knows the truth. He demands that this thief give back the Pokemon he stole. Necrosis knows he has the boy right where he wants him, so he eggs the boy on. "If this is your Pokemon, then come on, take it from me, battle me for it. If you can win, then I'll give it to you." Blinded by his egger, Hugh sends in his next Pokemon, Simipour, to start the battle, declaring he will win it back. But there is a slight problem. Necrosis won't choose another Pokemon. Liepard is the one who must battle. This causes Hugh to throw a fit, demanding that Necrosis choose another Pokemon. He won't battle with this Pokemon, but Necrosis refuses under the guise that Liepard has not been declared unfit to battle, so he thinks he'll leave it in. Hugh pleads with the ref, but it falls on deaf ears. Start the battle or you will be disqualified, he tells the boy. Hugh has no other options, but no idea on how to get out of this. Reluctantly, he chooses to battle, but it comes at great cost, as his Simipour and Tranquil quickly fall to this Liepard, as Hugh doesn't want to hurt it. This triggers the halftime break when Roxy is supposed to perform. With her friends watching everything that just happened, Ash and Iris make their way down to the sidelines in an attempt to talk to Hugh. Meanwhile, Roxy hasn't returned for the scheduled performance. Her band is getting nervous as the pressure to go back on stage mounts from the manager. They don't know what to do. They can't go on without their vocalist. But this concern is the least of their worries, as over the speaker system a very familiar voice rings out asking for the attention of the audience. Ghetsis. Hello everyone. Today is a glorious day. I, Ghetsis, your benevolent savior, am here to claim what is mine. A look of confusion befalls the crowd, while Ash and Iris stop dead in their tracks. Where is that coming from, Iris wonders. But she doesn't have to wait long, as a dark cloud covers the stadium, as a very damaged but very airborne plasma freight hovers above. Then, appearing on the screen around the stadium, a very familiar face captures the attentions of everyone. The clad-cloaked man goes on to tell everyone that they will be the first to witness the dawning of a new age in the Unova region. 3 years ago, he tried to save Unova, but his kindness was rejected, and he was betrayed by the one he held most dear to himself. So now, the birthright I was denied will no longer be an option. I've realized the only way to save this place is by force. This will be your only chance. Bow or be forced to bow. The audience just looks on in pure confusion. Who is this guy? But there are a few that know, mainly the first to identify the real threat. Officer Jenny and her police force. She demands that Ghetsis surrender so he can be taken into custody. However, this only prompts a laugh from the deranged man. So, you wish to challenge my power? Fine, then let me show you. Suddenly, the cannons of the plasma freight take aim at Jenny and her officers. It is at this point, the crowd finally begins to panic as a cannonball of ice is fired into the stadium. There is no time to react, as Jenny, the police force, and many innocent bystanders are encased in a tomb of ice that freezes everything in the immediate vicinity. Then, a platform lowers from the freight, revealing the tyrant in his full delusion. As the crowd panics trying to escape the stadium in self-preservation, Ash and Iris fight through it, trying to reach the stadium floor. Unfortunately, Hugh is alone as he comes face to face with the plasma leader. At his side is his opponent from the tournament, who has now made a costume change, revealing him as a member of the Shadow Triad. Now it all makes sense to Hugh. Rude, the former sage of Team Plasma, had told Hugh that if anyone would have Purloin, then it would be a member of Ghetsis' inner circle. Realizing his self-appointed mission is now at its culmination, Hugh's sole focus is on Necrosis. But Ghetsis is quick to break this attention, as he tells the boy his petty squabbles have no room in his future, so he needs to abandon his ambitions and follow the order of Ghetsis. Now angered, Hugh tells the old man that he's crazy. Ghetsis has no power here. However, this statement is met with more laughter. No power? My boy, let me show you just how wrong you are. Pushing a button on his staff, a door opens from the bottom of the freight. From it drops a giant metal box coated in ice that hits the ground with a deafening thud. But before Hugh could even react, the door of the box slowly begins to open as ice breaks and falls to the ground. Up in the stands, Ash and Riolu stop, having an intense feeling wash over them, the same one from the dream. They both become overwhelmed as the crowd around them pays no attention to the child and his Pokemon doubling over in pain. Over with Iris, she feels something similar to Ash, but not exactly the same sensation. This is the feeling she hadn't felt for a very long time. It's the same one she felt on the day Reshiram was resurrected 3 years ago. Then Fracture burst from its Pokeball with no command from Iris. So you felt it too? We need to get down there. Back with Hugh, a sudden shift in tone has left him speechless as a monstrosity steps out of the shadows of its prison. A being that seems broken, pieces of it clearly missing, but its aura is overwhelming. What is that thing? Hugh says with a hint of fear in his voice. Let me introduce you to the power that you claim I don't have. The legendary Pokemon, Kyurem. It's here that Ghetsis explains the origins of this dragon. It was once very different from it is now, but when its masters couldn't decide on a way of life, it fractured into 3 beings. The 2 dragons, Zekrom and Reshiram, who all of Unova knows. Then this 3rd, incomplete dragon, forgotten by the rest of the world. But I intend to right that wrong. You don't think so, Ghetsis, Iris yells as she and Fracture join Hugh on the stadium floor. Well, if it isn't the champion who ended my plans last time, I can tell you things will be much different this time around. I highly doubt that. Now, I'm only going to say this once. Leave or you will be captured. My dear girl, you really don't know who holds all the cards now, do you? Well then, let me show you. With their master signal, the last two members of the Shadow Triad appear, but not alone. Roxy, Silent, Looker, Colorus. They are all in binds, looking like they have been roughed up a bit. What? Ow. I told you, this time you won't win. Stand down and I will allow you to serve me in my new world. While Hugh is frozen out of fear, Iris isn't. She's walked this path before and won't allow anyone to take the life that she's built for herself. This sentiment is shared by Fracture as it roars and begins to glow with an evolutionary light, transforming into its much more powerful third stage, Luxurious. This is what we needed, Iris says with a smile. You see, Ghetsis, no one shares the visions of a demented old man, so our choice is to fight. So be it then. Champion, you will fall by my hands, with the whole region watching. This will cement me as the one true king above all. Kiram, attack! With a mighty roar, the ice dragon bursts with the chill that could freeze the sun, with Iris and her partner in its direct path. Back with Ash, he and Riolu are now alone, as the audience has cleared out by now, and for some reason, the pain is subsiding. Opening his eyes, they are met with a familiar face. Someone he's battled before. Ash, are you okay? Grimsley? What are you doing here? Where's Riolu? To Ash's relief, his partner is fine, seemingly recovered faster than his trainer. Yeah, I'm okay, Ash says. What happened? Well, it seems your pain stopped the moment that monster down there launched its first attack. Monster? Ash rushes only to see a legendary dragon of ice. That's it, Riolu. That's the thing from our dream, or at least one of them. Grimsley, are you here to help? Yes, Ash, me and the other Elite Four members were called by Iris this morning to come just in case something like this happens. It seems that I got here just in the nick of time. Well, where are the other members? Ash asks. Don't worry, they're helping the other people escape so we can handle things here. Well, there's going to be more work to do. Grimsley, I think I know what we have to do, but I'm going to need your help. Okay, Ash, just tell me. My friends, I need you to free them. If I'm right about how this is going to go down, then the battle ahead will be one that can cause great harm to anyone close to it. Say no more, Ash. I and the other elites are on it. Back on the field, with a little bit of luck, Haxorus was able to carry Iris away from harm, only inches from where the attack had landed. Well, it seems you're worth the title you hold. A normal trainer wouldn't have been able to handle that. But Ghetsis orders another attack from his beast. This time, the target isn't Iris. It's Hugh. The boy has been a pain long enough. So let's end him, Kiram. Glaciate. Again, another blast of ice envelops the area, but this one seems to be far more intense, freezing the ground. Luckily for the stiffened boy, he has a guardian angel as an Aurifear hits Hugh, knocking him out of the path of sure death and shocking him back to reality. Looking up, Ghetsis sees another thorn that's been in his side, Ash, and his failed experiment. This comment angers both him and Riolu. The only failure here is you, old man, and we're going to prove it, right, Riolu? It nods with a growl. You think a Pokemon that was born in a lab could stand up to the power of my mighty engine of destruction? Please, if a real Pokemon can't, what makes you think an imitation can? This comment gets to Riolu, but Ash is quick to shut this down. Imitation? It doesn't matter how Riolu was created. What matters is the life that it lives. It's just as much a Pokemon as anything else. And most of all, it's my friend. And no trivial origin will change that. Right, buddy? Ash's words ring true. Ghetsis holds no power over it, as long as Ash is by its side. That's cute, he says. Well, you two can be together forever. It's time, Kiram. You will be whole again. Revealing the light and dark orbs, Ghetsis pushes a button on his staffs. That activates them. Suddenly, they begin levitating in the direction of Kiram. It's here both Ash and Iris can hear a faint cry. Reshiram, Zekrom, they both mutter, as the orbs come in contact with the ice behemoth. In a brilliant flash of fire, ice, and lightning, a whirlwind of energy encircles the once incomplete dragon, only for Ash and Iris to no longer hear the cries of the other two legendaries. What stands before the duo is a legendary beast that the people of Unova haven't seen for nearly 5,000 years. At last, Ghetsis says, they that have no name, the once and now future power of the one true king, the true dragon. Ash, Hugh calls. What is that thing? I don't know, he says, but it's bad news and we have to stop it. Ash, that person I was battling, he has Purloin. Really? How do you know? Its paw, the scar it has, it's the same one that Purloin had before it was taken. Plus the bastard basically admitted it to me. So I'm going after him. Be careful, Hugh. They are all very sneaky. Watch your back. No doubt, Ash. Embor, let's go, he yells as Hugh runs off. Turning to the threat at hand, Ash yells to Iris if she's ready. Oh yeah, I am, Ash. as they both send out their Pokemon. We will need everyone's help, as Ash yells, including Gerudogon. The envious dragon looks around, not very pleased with all of this ice, but Riolu hits it in the head with a Noirsphere. The two stare at each other, but for once, Gerudogon concedes, seemingly understanding the severity of the situation. And not a moment too soon, as another very real problem makes itself known. An endless count of Team Plasma guns surround the pair, all with Pokemon ready to battle to make the promised dream of Ghetsis come to life. Things are looking bad. Ash and Iris tell everyone to fan out. Take everyone down that they can. While this little resistance is annoying to say the least, in order to quell it as quickly as possible, Ghetsis gives the Shadow Triad the orders to leave the prisoners and end this by any means necessary. This on the surface seems like a good idea, but things get a little bit more even when some elite forces finally make their way back to the stadium. Headed by Grimsley, the Elite Four and their signature Pokemon make their way through the crowd to Ash's friends. With cover from Chantel and Caitlin, Grimsley and his Crocodile quickly dispatch any interference and free the captured trainers. Now, with their own forces assembled, the counterattack begins as every trainer and Pokemon do their part to push back the overwhelming force that is Neo Team Plasma. Things seem to be going well for our heroes, but this is only a false hope. When Ghetsis, whose amusement at this pitiful resistance runs short, finally gives the command to his great beast that has been sitting silent. Without a movement, the massive dragon glows in fire, ice, and lightning, emitting a shockwave with it at the epicenter. What follows is a wave of cold that descends on the masses. It doesn't matter if they are friend or foe alike. They are caught in the middle. Then, silence. That's better, the madman says with a sinister grin as he looks out over a destroyed stadium that has been blanketed in snow and pillars of ice. Unfortunately, looking at the pillars of ice, a harsh reality has become clear. They have become tombs for those unable to defend themselves from the attack. This is where we see some that were able to dodge the attack start to stir. Ash, Iris, Hugh, and Grimsley, as well as a few grunts and the Shadow Triad. Those who work for Team Plasma have a very real truth set in as they see their comrades in arms frozen for what seems to be forever. Ghetsis doesn't care about them. He will attack anyone just to make a point. With this realization setting in, the grunts abandon their post out of fear for self-preservation, while the Triad rejoins their master's side, awaiting for their next command. Ash and Iris look around. All of their Pokemon are frozen in this eternal winter. Hugh and Grimsley see the same hope draining from their faces as Ghetsis takes great pleasure in watching this. You see, the Overlord says, all of your efforts, all of your talk, for nothing. I control the true dragon and its unmatched power, which means I am the new ruler of Unova and soon to be the world. A look of horror is plastered across our heroes' faces. Their friends, their Pokemon, all gone. Ash begins frantically calling to any of his Pokemon, trying to get any reaction from them. First Electric, then Seismitoad, and even Gerudogon. They're all gone. Then a painful cry for Riolu utters from the boy. But nothing. It had shielded Ash from the attack, and he lost sight of it in the confusion. The same could be said for Grimsley, Hugh, and Iris. Their Pokemon are either frozen or missing, presumably covered in snow, unseen by anyone. Now yield, Ghetsis demands. I am your new king. But all he gets is silence. Well, that's something he'll take as well. Assuming the petty squabble is over, Ghetsis tells the Triad to ready the freight. They have to make their announcement of his coronation, and they cannot do that from a place like this. But a voice yells at the villains. Where do you think you're going? Turning, the new king is met with a teary-eyed Ash. Do you think you could just walk away from this? What you did here? Well, yes, the Plasma Master says. Who's going to stop me? You? That's right. You think that because you have some sort of special power that you stole, that makes you better than everyone? Yeah, that's right, Iris says. This creature you claim to have control over is made up of 3 different Pokemon. You stole their lives from them, forcing this thing back into existence. Did you ever stop to think that they were meant to be separate beings? There was a reason that they split in the first place? Those words you speak are pure nonsense. My family has been charged with keeping the history of the true dragon for thousands of years. It was always our duty to make it whole again. I alone possess the fortitude to control it and bring order to this chaotic world, and no little snot-nosed brat will stop me. Here, I'll prove it to you. It's here. Ghetsis gives the command for a Glaciate to silence the naysayers once and for all. With the flex of his mighty power, the beast demonstrates his loyalty to Ghetsis and fires an ice-based attack. Hugh and Grimsley can do nothing but watch in horror, knowing that this is the end. But Ash and Iris are strangely confident. With the cloud of ice and wind wathing over the terrain, Ghetsis is satisfied. They are done here. But again, he can hear the voices of those 2 annoying brats patronizing him. You just don't get it, do you? Ash says as the cloud clears, and at his side stands Riolu, glowing in his blue aura. "We won't let you leave this place as the victor," Iris seconds, as she is revealed with Haxorus beside her. Something new has happened. Her dragon has taken on an orange hue, with its blades glowing white. The heat that is emitting from this dragon. It's here Iris is clearer of her partner's hidden power. The day she battled N, and the egg absorbed all of Reshram's power. It was storing it for a moment like this. The Elder told us that the egg was special. This is the reason why. They are meant to help Kirim. This new form of Haxorus could be exactly what they need. Iris wonders if it could absorb energy from Reshram, then maybe it could do again. It's here that Iris and Ash can simultaneously hear the cries of both Zekrom and Reshram once more. They can feel it. This being is not natural. It never was. They are meant to be separated. This only affirms Iris in her conviction to separate the three dragons once more. "Ash, we can't let them leave. I have a plan, but it's going to require us to battle." Cracking his knuckles, Ash says they wouldn't have it any other way. Right, buddy? Riolu felt the cry that Ash did. As a Pokemon that's origins have determined its path, the Aura Warrior understands the cry far too well. Without a second thought, the aura begins to surge within it, taking the form that Iris has come to coin as Ash Riolu. I like the sound of that. "How about it, buddy?" Riolu smirks, but this moment of hope is darkened by Ghetsis and his cronies. "Why don't you just quit? You two have been a thorn in my side for far longer than anyone else. Every time I think I've dealt with the problem, it just reemerges." "Fine. You want to battle, then you got it. I will unleash my full might on you two here and now, and when it is all said and done, I will stand above all. Kirim Max, attack!" The mighty dragon responds to its master, unleashing a volley of ice, lightning, and fire attacks. However, Riolu and Haxorus respond in kind with the most powerful of their moves. For Riolu, it's an aura sphere that's the size of a boulder that cuts through the maelstrom and connects with Kirim, while Haxorus wraps itself in a tornado of fire as it releases its own version of Fusion Flare. This attack has enough heat that it begins to melt the surrounding ice. While it isn't much, both Embor and Crocodile are freed, allowing them to join the fight. This gives Hugh and Grimsley hope. Annoyed by this development, Ghetsis orders the Triad to deal with those two while he handles the brats. Heeding the commands, the Triad do so, sending in Escavalier, Excelgor, and Bisharp. What ensues is a mini-battle that has to work its way around the clashing Kirim, as Grimsley has to battle both Andriel and Eclipse, as Hugh's only fixation is on Necrosis and Liepard. This becomes taxing, with Grimsley mildly overwhelmed by the duo, but the battle that is happening around them begins to bear unexpected fruit, as Marshall and his Conkeldor are freed to help with the scuffle. This is where things start to shift to the perspective of Ash and Iris. Riolu and Haxorus are holding their own, but they're just not doing enough damage. However, Iris sees her opening, telling Ash to give Haxorus cover while it prepares. Kirim is preparing another attack, one of pure fire, so they need to knock it off center. This is where Riolu hits with a Force Palm that is backed by a quick attack. While the dragon's power is maximum, it still holds the standard weaknesses that the other three do. So the fighting type move proves to cause enough pain to capture its attention. This is what Iris needed, an opening. With one command, Haxorus uses this brief window to get into Kirim's personal space, but not to attack. It's here to absorb. Lashing onto the hulking dragon, Haxorus begins to drain it of the energy that Reshram is providing it. Unfortunately, this isn't enough, as the hold is quickly broken, sending the blade dragon into a nearby wall. "This isn't good, Ashiels. No matter what we do, it just won't go down." Yeah, even the energy absorb isn't enough to slow it down, but they have little time to plan a counter, as now they face a fusion bolt head on. Riolu puts up an aura defense, while Haxorus uses another fusion flare to counter. This frees more of the Pokemon and the grunts in the process. Seismitoad and Electric are now free, while the Plasma grunts begin to run for their lives once they realize what has happened. But things are still not looking good. Iris and Ash are at the end of their options. They have tried everything. Not everything, a voice from behind says. It's Colrus. He was freed in the last fusion fair. Ash asks what they can do about this thing. No matter what they try, it doesn't work. "You're attacking the wrong target," Colrus says. "You need to go after Ghetsis. Destroy the staff and he will lose control of Kirim." "How can you be sure?" Iris asks. "Because I'm the one who built it." Ash and Iris consider this option. While truly they could break Ghetsis' control over Kirim, once they do that, then what happens? This thing could rampage and destroy everything. "True," Colrus says, "but it's our only option." "Then I think we need to reconsider that option," a familiar voice says. Turning, everyone sees the one person who may actually be able to help. And the arrival of his adopted son angers Ghetsis. How dare he show his face after their last encounter? Enraged, he orders a Glaciate from Kirim. Iris commands a counter, but Haxorus has burnt too much energy. The fusion flare it used was the limit of its abilities, as it's still new to this form. Luckily for our heroes, Grimsley and Marshall are able to provide some much needed defense, as they have dealt with both Andriel and Eclipse, relieving them of their Pokemon and knocking them out. This brief interlude is what they needed. With N here, they may actually have a chance, but the question is, what can they do? N explains that the separation of the three dragon can only happen in one place, the giant chasm. Well, that's great, Iris says. We just need to have Kirim chase us there. I'm afraid that won't happen, N replies, but we can bring it to us, or more specifically, the reason that the separation can only happen there. N then pulls out a stone, the same stone he picked up off the den of the dragon. This is a fragment of the original meteor that brought the three dragons here. This is what the DNA splicers are made out of, a more refined version of it. I see what you mean, but there's one problem. We will need the staff in order to do this. That is the only way we'll get enough time to expose Kirim to the stone. Then what we need is a distraction. Ash and Iris volunteer for this as they have the best chance at holding off Kirim, while Ash tells Seismitoad and Electric to help N and Colress get to Ghetsis. With all the roles assigned, the team breaks ready for their final effort to stop this madness. Iris and Ash go on the attack, trying to draw the attention of Kirim Max as much as possible, while N and Colress make their way to Ghetsis. With the Triad down, this proves far easier than normal, and the unlikely duo manage to make it to the old man. With the help of Seismitoad and Electric, they are able to overpower Ghetsis, though it proved to be a bit trouble as he sent in his High Dragon to defend himself. With N calming the Dark Hydra and Colress relieving Ghetsis of his staff, he is able to call off the assault that Ghetsis has ordered, allowing N the time needed to expose Kirim to the stone. With the energy pulsating, Kirim slowly glows in a blinding light. Then, the light subsides only for the black, white, and gray stones to lay where the mighty beast once stood. We did it, Iris yells as the ice thawed, freeing everyone from their impending doom. With the catastrophe now over and the relief washing over our heroes, Ash and Riolu look at each other, with a new bond having formed between the two. This is where Hugh reappears, asking if everyone is alright. Ash questions if Hugh got Lipard back, in which he confirms. Iris then asks what happened to Necrosis. Well, he got away, you see. I demanded that he give me Lipard after I knocked out his Bisharp. So, he threw the ball to divide my attention. Before I knew it, he was gone. That's not all, Grimsley says. The other two are gone as well. And Ghetsis. And as well. Wait, how did they all vanish without us knowing? We don't know, the elite says, but I'm sure we haven't seen the last of them. With everything free, Ash and his friends are forced to leave the stadium, as it is now an active crime scene, as Looker is all over the area looking for any clues to the whereabouts of Ghetsis. A couple of days have passed, and we find ourselves with Iris, Hugh, Roxy, Silent, and Ash. So, they canceled this year's championship, Silent questions. Yes, after everything that's happened, Mr. Goodshow decided that the results for this year will be null and void. So, anyone that competed this year can come back next year to battle. They don't even have to challenge the gyms again. Well, that's lucky, Roxy says. Well, how about you, Roxy? What are you going to do? Well, I've got an invitation to perform with Pierce in the Gala region, so I think I'm going to take him up on the offer. What about you, Iris? Silent asks. Well, I'm going to complete the Battle Club challenge. I only need 2 more pendants to challenge the main facility, so that's my goal. This just leaves Ash and Riolu. What will they do? Well, you guys, with Colress helping Looker to find Ghetsis, and still so many questions left unanswered, me and Riolu are going to head home for a little while to figure things out. I think that's best, Ash, Iris says. Thanks, Iris. So, with that, the next day, the group head their separate ways, with Hugh joining Ash on the trip home. He's come to realize that even though he got Lipard back, it's going to need some more time before it can get used to him again. That just leaves the Triad and Ghetsis. Well, after their escape, Ghetsis told the Triad that they needed to go. They are no longer indebted to him. They have earned their freedom. Despite the protests of the three, Ghetsis refused to change his mind, abandoning them to walk his own path. The Triad now search for their new meaning in life that has led them to a path from the Unova region. For now, anyways. That just leaves one person. N. Where did he go? Well, it seems he has made a few new friends. As he lays the stones to rest permanently, or so he hopes. And that, my friends, is where we will be of What If Ash Was Born in Unova. For now, at least. And that's all we have for What If Ash Was Born in Unova. How'd you guys feel about this one? This one was really hard to write, not only for the length, but because I couldn't believe that it was coming to an end. It's hard to believe that it's been 2 years since I started my channel, and the one that I decided to start the channel with has finally seen its ending. But how'd you guys feel about the story overall? Let me know in the comments down below. Where do you think N took the 3 stones? And of course, are you excited for the possibility of a follow-up for this one? Let me know in the comments down below. And also, don't forget to follow me on my other social medias like Twitter, Discord, or if you want to support the channel further, consider joining me on Patreon or becoming a channel member. For only $5 a month, you'll get up to a week's early access to all of my content. And also, starting next month, I'm going to be launching exclusive content for those 2 platforms for the members. But with all that being said, it's time to sign out the best way we know how by thanking the sponsors, the patrons. Silver Heart Soul, Robert, Vegito Gaming 78, Andrew McCartney, Paula Sif, Julian Rodriguez, Ribbon Watson, Lord Explosion Murder, Assassin 139, Flyer 943, Shadow Dragon, K McKnight, Kevin Atran, Drax, True Volt, Adrian Carr, Dino King, Dalen Silva, Fox King, Warney Taylor, Plus Ultraman, Megar, Mike Logan, Eddie, Kendall Green, Earth Dragon, Josh Waldrop, John Larson, Josh Van Meplin, Forbidden Super, Dylan Nicholson, Christopher Grant, Gerald Smith, Normandy 1998, Chris Lackman, The Shadows, Trainer Rad 164, Rowboat, Johnny, Brad 1, Adam Jimenez, Isofa Amid, Indigo Saturn 64, Kevin Malula, Chris Collins, Nicholas Onthank, Christian Anderson, Thomas Watson, Justin Ray, and Daniel Schaefer. Thank you all very much for watching, and I really hope you enjoyed this journey from start to finish. You can clearly see that this was one of the ones that I legitimately enjoyed making. I will see you next year.